Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the first ever StreamYard live stream I've ever done from my page, or actually ever. I learned about this tool by appearing on other people's podcasts, and I thought I'd try it out because I'm here with the fabulous Logan Marie Glitterbomb, who is technically hosting tonight as the Green Agorist. But I wound up setting
Green Market Agorist.
The Green Market Agorist. So I guess I'm going to stop doing the intro and turn it over to her to introduce us both.
Well, what up, y'all? I'm Logan Marie Glitterbomb. Welcome to the Green Market Agorist. This is our first, I guess, video stream podcast collaboration with Mikester here. And just kind of recapping the LNC. I've been on the ground here at the Libertarian National Convention, kind of checking things out. And Mikester has been at the digital convention online since we wanted to be a little more accommodating this year. And also joining me in the background here is our friend Alex, who has also been here on the ground floor. And so we just kind of wanted to chat a little bit about things, recap the convention, and kind of discuss different viewpoints from people who've been here versus people who've been online. And, you know, it's been fun. So we're 2 days into this. Tomorrow will be day 3. What did you think of the first 2 days, Mikester?
Okay, well, first of all, I was just chatting with my I was texting with a friend, and she's like, how bad is it? Like, because I was explaining how, I don't know, I guess I don't want to catastrophize it, because like overall I want digital to work, and I want distance participation to become normalized and like a natural part of our internal party culture. But especially in the beginning, there was a pretty big road bump because there was a split in the body over how we should legitimize our convention, like whether the bylaws and the way the bylaws interact with the legal system required us to like essentially first. It's hard to explain without a big, long, drawn-out conversation, but like there were 2 camps. One was, let's just move forward because we already decided to do digital and that's legit enough. And then the other camp said, no, if you really want to be to the letter of the bylaws, we have to temporarily unseat the digital delegates, then have the in-person delegates vote to reinstantiate the digital delegates, and procedurally. That argument was sound. But the other argument that like we were doing okay and we didn't need to backtrack like that was also sound. And what was complicated about it is that split occurred along factional lines. So there was an underlying mistrust that wasn't really being said openly, but which was the real thing that the credentials report was the proxy war for. So that drew out for 11 hours because neither side was like willing to put the gun down first. So maybe we can stop and kind of pause on that and examine. I think it's an interesting question, the way the underlying dynamics impacted, like on the surface was the desire to use democratic processes in a proper way, right? Like the goal. So I'll stop and see. What did you think of it all? What was the mood on the ground there, Logan? Okay, I was wondering if they were frozen or it looks like they're frozen, or whether she was just listening intently. I'm thinking, yeah, they dropped off. They're on a hotel Wi-Fi, so I'm thinking that she'll be right back in a minute. In the meantime, I will go ahead and give what my impression was. The overall outcome, I think, of it was that the mistrust was way bigger than it needed to be, because ultimately the delegates, we went the second route. We ended up temporarily unseating the tell a joke. Carson wants me to tell a joke. They dropped off because they're on hotel Wi-Fi. They'll probably be back. You want me to tell a joke? Well, is this whole thing not a joke? Okay, no. It ended up that we were at an impasse. So finally, it was just like, okay, just trust us. And they kept saying, trust us. And we're like, you know, it was that one of the candidates might have benefited from basically what's called a rump convention, where the smaller body takes control and never reseats the digital delegates. And had that happen, we would have been in real trouble, because they would have not only had, they would have had basically control over the platform and the bylaws and everything else. And there's not an insignificant number of people that are still not convinced that they did hope for that, and then switched kind of around later to pretend like that's what they wanted the whole time. But I am preferring to kind of lean forward, because like the unity narrative is like important to me. I'm just going to take people at their word, and I'm just glad we got through it. They did end up voting to reseat the digital delegates. So we did it according to the letter of the bylaw, according to the most strict legalistic interpretation of what that meant. And yes, it took 11 hours. And I see we've got Logan back here. So I've been filling time. I'd like to hear, what was the mood on the ground, and what did you experience on the floor?
I mean, it was a lot of me sitting, just being bored, because I wasn't a delegate this time. So, but there were a lot of people pretty up in arms. I mean, people were getting rather rowdy and cheering and yelling and getting, and standing, typical libertarian convention. But yeah, no, I mean, there were a number of times where votes would go one way or the other, and you'd have people like stand up and, scream no.
That'd be me.
So
screaming and fighting for everybody online that couldn't scream over that muted microphone.
It was extremely passionate, to say the least. But I have never seen people, I don't know, I had never seen people be so passionate for 11 hours straight about how we're going to all vote. And I mean, I get, there were like a lot of questions on the ground floor about like, okay, the app doesn't have the correct information necessarily. They were worried about people being able to potentially commit voter fraud, either purposely or by accident, by double voting in person and on the app. So there were legitimate concerns. But I mean, I know at one point there was a whole thing about whether we should do an in-person roll call, and people pointed out that that's what the damn registration desk is for in the first place. And they still slowed it down and voted to do an in-person roll call nonetheless. Right. So there was a lot of that. I mean, I know for a little bit there were rumors that there were people trying to potentially stop online delegates from voting, period. Now, I didn't sit in on the entire 11 hours, but I didn't particularly notice that sect. And if they were there, they weren't very vocal. It seemed that everybody was arguing how to allow people to participate. But I do find it messed up how many people were threatening to sue the party if they didn't implement voting their way. And I mean, I get it. They were like, oh, it's in accordance with the bylaws. Other people could sue us if we do it. And it's like, well, yeah, leave that to other people. Don't threaten to be that other person. I don't know. It was a mess. I mean, I get where people were coming from on wanting it to do it by the bylaws to prevent other people from being able to sue the party. And I think that was important. But I did not like the attitude of people being like, I will be that other person and I will sue the party if they don't do it this way.
Right. So essentially, like becoming that self-fulfilling prophecy, so that it was no longer an if, but like a guarantee that like we would get sued. And I didn't actually, I didn't actually catch that.
Yeah, they were using threats.
I remember the one.
It was threats and blackmail, basically.
Yeah, actually, I'm
like low key, you know.
This has been one of the times that I like zoned out, and so from the. It must have been pretty tense on the floor, and maybe we can hear Alex's take next. I was going to say from the digital side, like my state party, we have a Slack channel that we are participating in. And actually, Alex gets a window into both of these. He's as well. Actually, I'd rather hear Alex's take before I launch into a monologue. Alex, what was your experience on the floor?
All right. So, I guess
Sit back there.
we'll just kneel over here, right? we're short on chairs. Anyway, you know, I came here with the intention to, and I was pretty clear about it and open with everybody before I came out here that, like, you know, I take care of a high risk. My dad is high risk. I take care of him, and I came out here knowing the risks of like that virus. But I wanted to make sure that this happened. I wanted to make sure that everybody that wanted to participate could participate the way that they wanted to participate. We're supposed to be the party of choice. Like, you know, this is where we're all about people making their own choices and how they want to do things and being open to new ideas. And you know, at the same time, I had sat, you know, the night before the first day of the convention, and I talked to, you know, the parliamentarian, Mr. Brown, for like 2 hours, you know, about the different possibilities of what could happen, of what he had seen happen in other parties in the past, when they've had issues and internal conflicts with their, you know, their bylaws and things like that. And I really actually am, you know, excited about Dr. Jorgensen as a candidate. And I am really excited about the grass movement support and the wide base of the people that are like coming in to check out the libertarian message. And I don't want to see that get thwarted by some crazy court action like Mike and I have both seen happen in Arizona, like with our candidates at state level. We got sued off the ballot 2 years ago. And all of those signatures that we gathered, all of those, you know, like the time that we spent, all that effort was just, you know, thrown out because we didn't have enough manpower to fight that system. And I didn't want to see that happen again. You know, I there's so many people that work so hard in this party and nobody's getting paid, you know, like there's a few staff in DC that get paid, but for the most of us, we're all volunteers.
What do you mean? We're all Coke funded.
Yeah.
In between cashing our Soros checks.
So
yeah, because we're the left libertarians.
Yeah, something, you know. If you get one, Mike, let me know because I'm still waiting on mine, you know.
See, that's why you become a left libertarian, so you can double your paycheck.
Okay.
So you get that Coke money and that Soros money all at once. So then why do you think Joe Jorgensen and Spike Cohen are reaching out to Black Lives Matter? It's because they're trying to get Soros to fund their campaign.
Oh, that is funny. Well, you know, what was I going to say? Is it that we're so well funded because we're such a like threat that it would be useful to use it, either that or we're being a target of saboteurs because like, look what it took us 11 hours to do yesterday. And of course that puts us an entire day behind our agenda. So then today we should have been able to get through platform and bylaws today. And we, didn't even get
what really like, I think yesterday was a lesson in humility for a couple of people. And I think it was really beneficial to like see, you know, I applaud Mr. You know, Alex Merced. That's my hero right now. That dude, I love Alex. And, the way he's handled this, like this crazy year. I mean, it's got to have been insanity for everybody. It's been insanity for me, and you know, to be out here in Florida to see all of this happen, to make sure that, like, everybody's able to participate now and everybody's able to vote. And, like, there's still obviously some technical issues that are being, worked out, but this is we're making history right now. It's not going to be pretty, it's going to be messy, but, the things that are worth most doing in life are never easy. So, to get to going the right way, we're going to have to go, it's an uphill battle, but, we all generally want to go in the same direction. We all want a free world. We all want a world where we can decide for ourselves. And, this is the ship to do it,
Yeah.
I know that for me, one of the things I had to do, and I got to this point middle of yesterday afternoon, because I kind of was like, you know what, we're at an impasse. Sooner or later, we're going to have to let them vote to cut us out and then just hope they put us back in. And my attitude kind of was like, you know what? Okay, if they're going to take the party and crash it, let them. And then thank goodness they didn't, right? But when I woke up this morning, and I woke up late and I had to run to my computer, and like I barely got logged in at like 6:03. So, because you guys start at 9. And anyway, that's not even the point. The point is, I kind of
it's still 6 a.m. for me, man.
when I had that tipping point, and I just recognized that like we're at a disadvantage as digital participants because the technology isn't really ready. It was a rushed implementation. And ultimately, even after we got seated, like we're not getting called on as often as the people in the room. There's about twice as many delegates offsite as there are on. So in theory, you would have to take 1 from the floor and 2 from the digital. But like Alex, and like, I get this, like when you're in a room and the people are in the room, like you forget that like there's people on the screen, like you just forget because what's happening there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so
350 people shouting at you in your face, it's hard to think about the other 650 people that are waiting online, and that's why, like, I kept putting out there to everybody. I'm like, hit me up, send me a message. Like, if you have a motion that you like are trying to get to the mic and you're not being heard, like I'll run up there. Like, it's not going to be perfect right now because it was rushed, but we're getting it done. We managed to get business done today. We managed to pass motion, we managed to pass some things, and like it's never gonna be pretty or perfect, and like if anybody came in here expecting that, like to go one way perfect, it wasn't, like it's
I'm not sure I want to gloss over like that. I'm not gonna like make waves over it because you're right, it's not going to be perfect. But the experience from home for me has been, in order to save myself, like the mental anguish of feeling disenfranchised, I have had to put myself in a headspace that like, I'm not even going to bother trying to get on the mic if something stresses me out. If I have something to say, I'm just going to hope somebody says it. And what I found is that the people are, they're having a debate and they're covering all the different angles, and that's okay. So I just wait for the poll to pop up and I vote and I'm watching. But the idea of being on equal footing, like I had to kind of let go of that so that it didn't feel so traumatizing, because we're still 75% there. And like, I'm okay with that. Like, that's the part that I will help you gloss over. This is our first try. It was rushed. It's imperfect.
And the amount of people
in the most principled sense, it's profoundly disturbing, but we'll live with that.
Yeah. And I was going to say, with the amount of people that kind of had pushback against any sort of like, digital side to the convention period initially, the fact that we even got this far with all those roadblocks says a lot. I mean, and, we managed to throw together something a lot more last minute than we probably should have, considering this party had plenty of foreknowledge and time to plan. But, I mean, like I said, there were rumors that folks were going to try to, impede on the voting rights of digital delegates in general. And like you said, that's what you're worried about too, with you know, temporarily voting to take away y'all's voting rights to then vote to reinstate them a different way. Like, that's putting trust in their hands that they'll even do that second part. And I don't know, it was pretty cool because every single other of the main 4 political parties, and I'm including, you know, Green Party and Libertarian Party, like, the Democrats openly rigged their election and, you know, against Bernie Sanders. You know, I mean, we saw how Mike Bloomberg bought his way into things. We saw how things were rigged in favor of Biden. We saw, you know, and then we saw how Trump basically canceled the Republican primaries and acted as if no one was running against him, period. And then now there's accusations that the Howie Hawkins campaign and the Green Party is engaging in some pretty unsavory tactics, and that a lot of the Green Party leadership has been in collusion with him to disproportionately promote his campaign over every other, you know, person who's running for Green Party, and they're about to go in their convention now. So it was kind of refreshing to see us try and figure out how to move forward in expanding democracy instead of trampling on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's not much, and we're still talking about within the realm of electoral politics, which, I mean, as an anarchist, I don't see as the most important thing, but this is our soapbox. This is how we get our message out to people who don't listen except during election times. And we're increasing participation, and that's beautiful.
You know what I trip out on now that I'm listening to you, and is that, like, so libertarians really don't like I should say right libertarians in particular. The narrative is that democracy is the majority trampling the minority, and that in fact, Logan, you actually are one of the people that taught me this nuance, actually, because I came through right libertarianism on my way to the left, and like I used to like use that language, but like my point is there's this weird disconnect where like the way they actually do things is like deeply committed to making sure the voice of the individuals is protected, which is the real point of actually small d principled democratic processes. So in a way, they're like hyper democratic, even while they're like, you know, democracy is 2 wolves and a sheep, you know.
Well,
like,
I mean, I've got some agreement with that critique, and I mean that's why anarchists have always said that to partner with direct democracy, you have to have freedom of association. Yeah. If you don't agree with the collective, if you don't agree with the decision-making body, you should be free to strike out on your own. So they're not. That kind of eliminates that situation, that main critique that most people have of democracy, because at that point, no, they don't have rule over your life.
Right.
You know, you can go off and do your own thing.
Right. And
I mean, until you're hurting other people.
I was trying to explain to someone yesterday, like the capital D, like the great injustice is that we're locked into the single monopolized capital D decision-making system. And so you can't, the element of consent is denied to you because you can't say no. You ultimately just can't say no. Whereas when you have freedom of association, there's 2 things going on. One is that, like, if you can't reach a consensus at the level you're trying to get it may just mean that decision shouldn't be made at that big of a scale. And like a smaller, like, you know, compartmentalized decision might be better, like at the municipal level. And then 2, it's also a signal for one to slow down and see if there are concessions that can be made so you can reach consensus. And then also it's okay if the group has to, you know, split for that particular thing. Like, it's okay for multiple groups of people to try different things. That's okay too. And all of that is of the democratic spirit.
And sadly, you can't really do that with a political party within this system. So, I mean, within this system, yes, the form of democracy that we have, even within the LP, is the form of democracy that we're criticizing, but at least we're trying to expand it to be a more directly democratic form. I mean, we're still the only party that actually allows people to vote on who the VP candidate will be.
Right.
You know, I mean, we do actually value a little bit more direct form of democracy than most others. I mean, yes, we're still participating in a representative form. We're still participating in a representative form of democracy. So, you know, but it's interesting. We're definitely trying to implement those principles, and it's definitely refreshing. I mean, shit, for any criticisms that people have of this current campaign, we got an anarchist vice presidential candidate. That is a huge monumental achievement. And, you know, Spike's got credentials from across the board, and being tied to Vermin really gives him a kind of foot in the door in a lot of left libertarian circles, and seeing their campaign specifically take on a lot of the messaging and solidarity with like the Black Lives Matter movement and other things like that has been absolutely amazing. I mean, I don't know if you saw, well, you saw it earlier. It was posted in the anti-fascist chat, but the Joe tweet that she just tweeted out today that has so many people threatening to leave the party now, all the racists,
Right.
because she said that she stands at that. What was it? It's not enough in our society to be to not be racist. You have to be anti-racist. Was like the tweet that she sent out, and then everybody was just like, ah, and it said like hashtag Black Lives Matter, hashtag Vote Gold, and then all the right wingers were just like, ah,
right, like that's.
And then just like, no, this, and she had to clarify too. Like, no, I'm not supporting Marxism. I'm supporting Black Lives Matter.
Right.
You know? Which, I mean, the Red Scare propaganda around that movement is so ridiculously overblown. I mean, one of the first local meetings I had went to when I was participating in a lot of that stuff in Florida a number of years ago, one of the guys who was there was a Black Tea Partier. You know? And he's just like, yeah, I'm a Tea Partier, but I agree with like all your demands and messaging. We might disagree on other politics beyond that, but I mean, it's a united front around certain issues. What people's other organizing is outside of that doesn't so much matter for that united front.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it's been great seeing like the Boogaloo Boys get out there and they're repping Joe Jorgensen while holding up signs that are like, you know, justice for Duncan Lemp, justice for Breonna Taylor, and no knock raids and all that shit. It's pretty cool to see like, you know, armed libertarians and armed leftists and, you know, armed and unarmed, like marching side by side in the streets. And this is a unique moment. And to see Joe Jorgensen like getting a lot of support from former Vermin supporters, from former Bernie supporters. That's the other big one. Is, I mean, a lot of people from Bernie's camp disagree with Joe Jorgensen's like economics, but she is way further to the left on both social and even economic issues in some ways than Biden by far. So, and then now with Howie and with the Green Party basically not really being nearly as relevant and being able to achieve that 5% goal, and also just the accusations of Howie's election rigging. Yeah, I mean, people that are still looking for hope in electoral politics are flocking to the LP. And now's our time to recruit them and turn them all into anarchists and agorists, right?
Yeah.
This is just the pipeline. This ain't the end goal.
Well, on that note, so if there are listeners who still want to get their LP on this weekend. The convention's still happening in Orlando, and I understand there's more fun happening tomorrow. Do y'all want to fill us in on what's coming up, not only on the floor tomorrow, because I think there's a big platform struggle going on, but social events as well?
Tomorrow is what's happening on the delegate floor is
so they're doing this other meeting, but it's really not that important. What's really important is there's this pizza party tomorrow that is going to be awesome, and it's in 2156 here at the Rosen Center Hotel.
Yeah.
And it's
on I Drive in Orlando, Florida. Come join us.
And it's, the Libertarian Pizza Banquet. And obviously nobody's ever turned away. I actually invited a friend of mine who lives here in Orlando who has been like talking about getting into the Libertarian Party, but he's not like all the way in the door yet. And I'm like, hey man, come check out this convention tomorrow, and we're having this pizza party tomorrow night. Come, talk to some libertarians. And
Mikester, you actually had a hand in founding the pizza party in general. That's a regular tradition now. Do you want to explain how that came about and what that tradition is?
Oh yeah, I love telling old war stories. So thanks for the setup. All right, so here's what happened in 2012. There was NODA, which is none of the above, won for chair, which meant they had to throw the two candidates out and elect someone else. So Jeffrey Neal became chair. He didn't really want to be, and sure, he's a nice guy. He wasn't a very nice chair, and he's very classist. So there was a giant debate about floor fees that year, whether delegates should be charged money simply to vote on the floor. And that is like a poll tax. And they were arguing about whether if you're so poor that you can't pay $50 to come on the floor, then why are you even a delegate, which is just an astonishingly classist way of looking at it. And anyway, so the word Pobritarian started getting thrown around. And Jeffrey Neal was like one of the people that was like, so the chair of the party was shaming its volunteers, its grassroots volunteers, who were trying to say it's not okay to poll tax us. You all are the ones that picked at this fancy hotel. We would be happy voting at a public park if we needed to do that, right? Like, so anyway, Pobritarian was a reclaimed, essentially class slur from that time. So in 2014, at the Columbus Convention. And it's kind of funny because I was still a fairly, this was one of my first big organizing things that I did. Like, oh my God, I almost just told a bunch more story that I don't need to tell. It was one of the first things. I started getting the confidence to organize myself rather than follow others to do things that you would consider leadership. And so I created this flyer. I didn't know what was going to happen, but I wrote, it was Milton Friedman's quote. I'm a liberal in the classical sense. And I wasn't really left libertarian yet, but I was drifting left. The signs were there, like the cards, it was in the cards. And I remember passing out this flyer and it said, meet in the lobby, bring your pizza money. We're going to have a Pobritarian caucus. And I was passing out this flyer to the delegate seats, and, I was hearing people gasping and and wadding it up and throwing it. Cause in those days you couldn't say the word liberal at all. Even the constitutional conservatives were not really comfortable recognizing that was classical liberals. Now they're trying to rebrand themselves as classical liberals, but at the time,
because we keep trying to take the term libertarian back. So
right, I might as well just drove in a tank onto the floor. Anyway, I'll cut the story short. That's the insider scoop on how it all came about. About 20 people showed up to that first one. We ordered pizza. It was delicious. We talked. We loved it, and we just started doing it. Oh, the other kicker. In terms of the shtick of the whole thing is that there's a giant fancy gala that they throw usually on Saturday or Sunday, the day of the presidential nomination, and all the people with the fancy gowns and the checkbooks and the you know, sipping champagne with the new president and all that. Like they throw this giant like thing. And so the pizza banquet happens at the same time as the gala, because it's like, you know, the tickets are expensive. A lot of us can't go to that, much less pay a floor fee. So the pizza banquets now, like actually people say that it's more fun than the gala. People like give away their tickets so they can come to ours. So it's at this point.
I got a free gala ticket last time. I got a free gala ticket last time because other people wanted to go to the pizza banquet instead. And I just dropped in on the gala for like 5 minutes and left and went back to the pizza party.
I would so much rather hang out and eat pizza and just chill with people than to have to get dressed up in a tuxedo and shit. Oh my God.
I am kind of sad that Spike didn't like, you know, that Spike didn't go all out and just.
You all froze again. So I will start talking until Logan unfreezes. I see Doug's asking for endorsements. Wow. So there are quite a few people who have declared for the different races.
Air shit.
Oh,
okay, cool. Yay.
Are you back?
I don't know why it keeps disconnecting. It's probably just shitty hotel Wi-Fi.
Okay.
But yeah, one thing that I wanted to ask you, you know, before we kind of wrap up is for those who are unaware of your reputation in the party, Mikester, you are one of the founding members of the Libertarian Socialist Caucus and one of the biggest voices associated with it. And you are also running for chair of the Libertarian National Committee this election. And as a libertarian socialist, and I know you mentioned it in your speech that if you were to be elected chair, that you would be the party's first openly libertarian socialist chair. How does that make you feel? What kind of reception have you gotten? What kind of pushback have you gotten? What is it like being a socialist in a capitalist party?
Well, for one thing, we've come a huge distance. From 2 years ago, we were at risk of being ejected from the party. And these days, you can run openly as a lib soccer like nobody even bats an eye. Like, that's not even a thing in the race. Like, out of all the things that have come up, like whether a guy with hair like this can represent us on C-SPAN or whatever, you know, like those kinds of concerns still exist. And, you know, there's underlining sort of, you know, class.
Oh no, our vice presidential candidate took off his shirt. So unprofessional.
Like there's class anxieties, and there's still like a lot of the underlying dynamics of conservatism in general that still are at play. But like the idea that like, oh, there's a communist running for chair, like that's not even happening at all. So like that's amazing. As far as the like experience, I suppose the term you might use is like among the rank and file. There's still, you know, bottom unity is like creating, it's saying the entire bottom half is like what counts as anti-authoritarian. And so, you know, the people in the center who, and I would say probably from classical liberal across maybe to syndicalist, so agorist, mutualist, people that are comfortable with trade and gift economies and aren't like staunchly committed to like just trade or just gift, have had a pretty easy time kind of swallowing that idea. And then the people in the corners are still a little skeptical, and that's okay.
Hardcore ancoms and the hardcore ancaps are still way too skeptical for the most part.
Yeah, especially of each other, because part of the narrative is like that this would be the best way, and those are mutually exclusive. So, but I don't think they're like at an impasse, because the commitment is more to like, you know, a world free of violence, of state violence in particular, than it is to like a particular economic. So even the ice around those corners is starting to melt. And people are starting to realize that, you know, we're suffering under a brutal system, and that needs to stop immediately. And until we can get that out of the way, the minutia of what the economy might look like is, you know, I don't want to say it's moot, because our, you know, the way our ideas make us excited, like that does matter, but it is mostly academic at this point. So, you know, there's that. So it's really cool. It's transforming the way we work together, and it's fun.
Well, what I've always found interesting is, I mean, it's coalition building. It's bottom unity is a coalition against statism, just as left unity is a coalition against capitalism, just as Black Lives Matter is a coalition against racism and police brutality, just like Antifa is a coalition. You know, like, people are going to have widely differing beliefs. And I mean, just look at Black Lives Matter as a coalition, for example. You have people with such widely different beliefs. You have libertarians, you have liberals and Democrats, you have communists and socialists, you have anarchists, you have, you know, your progressive Bernie-crat, you know, type folks. You have everyone in between. You even have a handful of conservatives, and, you know, and right-wingers that are involved with that movement that people don't realize are involved in that movement. I mean, shit, the American Pit Vipers Patriot Militia is standing in solidarity with Black Lives Matter, and they're not the only Patriot militia to do so. You know, especially now that we got like the Boogaloo Boys and stuff out there. So you're not going to agree on everything. Bottom unity is not about agreeing on everything, and people have to realize that, like, will there be certain impasses? Sure, we're not there yet for the most part. And honestly, even a lot of the arguments I hear between them seems to be mostly more semantical than substantial half the time. They're arguing strawman about each other. And I mean, even as an anti-capitalist myself, like, I find that a number of ANCAPs and libertarian capitalists are just using a wildly different definition of capitalism than most of the rest of
Right. Logan froze again. But just to pick up on that thought, that is so important, I think, for the listener to maybe like pause and just take a step back and do kind of some self-crit around how do I use the word capitalism? How do other people use the word cap? And actually, we could do this with the word communism as well. But in particular with capitalism, because Rothbard in particular has a kind of take on that. Oh, capitalism. Actually, Ayn Rand kind of had this too, but Ayn Rand believed in a state. She hated anarchists. So there was that. But there was kind of like, as the U.S. libertarian movement progressed through the second half of the 20th century, they kind of like got staunchly caught up in this idea that real capitalism doesn't have a state, and that anything that interferes with the market is actually anti-capitalist. So that flipped the entire script on what that word means and the connotations associated with it. So what a left market anarchist would mean when they're talking about just a plain old market with no state in it, we would think of that as an anti-capitalist take, which puts those two narratives at complete odds with each other when they're actually saying the exact same thing. So we've got Logan back on, so I'll let her pick up with her point again.
No, I mean, I was really enjoying hearing what you had to say. I don't know if you had anything else on that subject in general or anything else that you wanted to discuss about the past couple days or about the next couple days.
Well, I was going to say, because Doug had asked in the thread in the chat about endorsements, and I would endorse Henry Connolly for at large. And that's because I know that he's running. He's a close ally of mine. I've been on his podcast a few times. And he is definitely an ally of bot immunity. And I think that we need more voices of that on the LNC. Although most people in the LNC do seem to at least be soft allies, if not active, allies. The thing I'm having trouble, Eric Rodsep is running. He's pretty good. He's more of a moderate, but a principled moderate. Like, in fact, actually, I don't think moderate's the right word. I think that he's probably on the radical side of principled, more of a classical libertarian, classical liberal than an anarchist, but on the edgy side of that. And he plays well with pragmatists, which is helpful because
we're not always the best at that.
Right. They get mad when they think that you don't play well with them. So I'm not, I'll leave it at that. Eric is a great ally for that reason. Yeah. Right yeah. Eric made my nomination speech for me last time when I ran for LNC at large, which is like, when you watch that video, I get so proud because I don't know. I'm not the kind of person who toots my own horn, but he tooted my horn in that speech, and I was like, "Aw." Anyway, who else is even running? I haven't been. This is
do you know who Nathan Wise is?
Nathan Wise. I recognize that name.
He's from Ohio, and he's running too, and I actually really like him.
Let me make sure. I'm gonna keep talking. I'm gonna look real quick.
He's like, I mostly know him through like the Jorgensen campaign pages and stuff. He makes a lot of like digital media content, memes and stuff for the campaign. And I've like talked to him a few times in person, and like really solid guy. I think he's probably probably one of the like the dreaded caucuses that we shall not name or whatever. But I don't really. I'm one of those people that like I toss aside the labels of the caucuses and stuff, and I just want to work with anybody who's going to get something done together. Like, if you're willing to show up here and spend $1,000 when everybody's not even sure what the hell's going to happen tomorrow, like I'm willing to work with you to see what we can get done in this party, So, like, and the people that are at home that are like doing everything they can to be there and participate and like make sure they've got the monitors working, their internet connections on and like steady, and like you're not getting like a 30-minute delay or some, or 30-second delay, like what was happening the other day, and like all the stupid problems. There's different elements that people have to face on both sides of it, and if people can mount those circumstances and work together to get something done, I'm all for it. I don't care what caucus you want to run with. If we're gonna move something forward in this party, let's do it.
Oh yeah, I like that. Well, is there anything else we want to touch on before we wrap up? We'll definitely have stuff to talk about on the last 2 days as well.
Yeah, let's do another wrap up in a couple days. We'll know by then what happened with the abortion battle tomorrow, and we'll know whether the gender autonomy plank passed, and we'll know who's chair by then, and who our other offices are as well. So that'll be fun.
So we'll have you on here to celebrate once you become chair.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And if anybody wants to pop into the virtual pizza party tomorrow, actually it's going to be at 8 p.m. Eastern. Hold on.
Yeah, we wanted to make it accessible for the folks who could not attend the convention in person due to the pandemic. So join us online. You know, I'll be there. We'll all three be there in some way, shape, or form.
You know,
So,
I decided that I'm just going to try to put it up on as many different platforms as we can, you know, and, you know, we'll let anybody that's going to show up, if you know, whether it's Zoom or, well, I don't know if you'll be able to do Zoom, but like Facebook or, what was the other one that we were going to do? If we can do, I don't know if we can do YouTube if you have a channel for it or not, but.
I mean, we could, if we want to try and stream it. I don't know.
I was going to do
you know.
Facebook Live. You know, if you have a different idea for a media platform that we can use for it, I'm down to do that too. I've got multiple devices that I brought here to use, so we can make it happen. Like
it looks to me like we could use this StreamYard to share the screen out, and we could put it on the Libertarian page.
Nice. Well, then let's do that. And
okay. Like we would be able to share. I could do a screen share of the Jitsi meeting. Is my point, but we need to figure out. We should think it through so we don't create like a feedback loop. And I also know that I might be overthinking it because you might just live stream from the party directly to the page. So there could be that too. Or maybe we could have. Actually, why don't we have your phone be a participant in the Jitsi meeting so that. Let's think this through.
We'll figure this all out, you know, behind the scenes.
We'll figure it out where it's as integrated as possible, given the short time we have, and you all are invited one way or another.
We're making history right now, Mike. Remember that, man.
We are.
We're forging new territory right now, figuring all this stuff out.
And we're going to try and keep up digital participation in conventions to come, from voting to pizza parties to everything, right? That's the goal. So
we're entering a digital age, man.
Oh, looks like we lost Mikester.
Oh, I was gonna say hello. I was gonna say hi to him.
Well, I don't know if I am still streaming or whether he is or what's going on with that, but it was definitely wonderful to have Mikester on. This entire recap was wonderful. It was wonderful to have Alex join me as well. And, you know, really hoping that these next 2 days produce some interesting stuff. And we will be back in a few days to recap it and let y'all know what's going on. So keep an eye out on Mikester's Facebook page. We'll also be uploading this to the Green Market Agorist YouTube channel, as well as the BitChute and VTube channels. And yeah, check out greenmarketagorist.wordpress.com. And I will catch y'all next time.
Hey everyone, I hold on, use the link to get back in. I accidentally hit the, sorry, this is the first time we've used StreamYard, so I apologize to our audience. I kicked us all out. I hit the back button and like it all disappeared. So it's good to know that that's all we have to do to get back in. That is great to know. And we were about to wrap up anyway, so no harm done, but that was fun.
Yeah, don't know why I keep dropping out aside from just, I guess, shitty internet, but
oh, Michael's back.
Yeah.
Hey, Michael.
How are you?
Miss you.
We are joined here by our lovely former Utah mayor. So And but yeah, I don't know. Did you have anything that you wanted to talk about as far as how the convention went?
I think it's been pretty fun. I mean,
yeah.
This is my 19th, and I've never been to a bad one, you know. So yeah, no, it's been nice. I've enjoyed it so far.
Yeah,
I expect it's going to be even better tomorrow and the next day.
You like how? I mean, I know we had a bumpy start with the digital voting, but does it seem you think it's
the floor stuff was just fucking torturous yesterday, but they did finally adopt the agenda, you know, and so anyway, I think it's probably better now. I spend as little time on the floor as I can, though. That's probably better for your mental health. It makes the convention much more enjoyable.
Right? No, there's plenty of other things to do.
That's right. Don't just mingle with people or go to workshops if there are any. And there's very few this time.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's still been fun. I'm glad I came.
Hey, you know, when you can go hang out with the vice presidential candidate by the pool, that's way more fun than being stuck in.
Yeah. So anyway, but we missed you, Michael, and I hope you'll be at the next one.
Yeah. We can't keep you away.
It's just been a weird year.
This is about the only damn thing that could keep you away, and even that couldn't keep you away in full.
Right. Arizona, I mean, we were getting, and it's still happening, like, we're a hot spot. And I thought that, like, for me, I mean, I do have a health condition that makes it better if I don't risk it. But mostly I was thinking of the optics. I'm thinking flying from a hot spot and being angelic from Arizona. And okay, granted, I give it, like, I think Sarwark was right about this. The media is not paying attention to what the fuck we're doing. So like, they're not going to be here like trying to blow us out of the water for doing a convention. But I mean, you never know if we wind up being like labeled a super spreader event or something. I don't know. So I just felt it was more responsible, and that's why I stayed home.
The pool party tonight certainly was something to.
Yeah, I stepped out there for a minute, and it was crowded, and everybody was like crowded around Spike, cheering, and like it was ridiculous. I stood off way to the side.
Sure. We'll figure it all out sometime.
I stood way off to the side and just sat there and watched the spectacle. But yeah.
So Michael, you weren't here today, but I wear my hillbilly outfit.
You did? Did you carry your bugle?
I had my jug with my moonshine and stuff.
It's an outfit? I just thought that's how you dress normally.
No, not usually.
I'm kidding.
And then tomorrow I'll wear my U.S. Cavalry.
You know what I've always wanted to know? Does the bugle actually play?
Yeah. I really don't play it well, but it does make noise. I can make noise with it.
Will you play a bugle for us right now?
Okay. I don't want to disturb the neighbors, but I'll give it a little toot.
It's like fuck the neighbor.
Hey, the neighbors disturb us with their dog.
That's true. They're libertarians all around you, so.
Yeah, but your sound penetrating their property or their rental property line there in their hotel room, that is a violation of the NAP.
Let me show you first.
Your sound waves are. Oh, we even get the hat.
This was my hillbilly look today.
Ooh! Oh wow! Corn cob pie.
And then I got my jug here.
Hand sanitizer.
This is my moonshine. So that's my moonshine jug. And anyway, this was my outfit today. But I had some bib overalls on with one strap broken, of course. So it looks that way. It looks trashier.
Perfect.
So that's.
Sorry.
Oh my gosh, there it is. The bugle.
Anyway, I'm not going to really blow it out, but it does make noise.
Okay, that's all we get. A little toot.
Yep. Anyway, good to see you.
You too. Thank you for that.
That was wonderful. This has been such a great, fun little stream. Just having all kinds of fun friends crash.
Yay.
See, this is the fun of live streaming from events. Is, you know, there's always something going on.
Right. Right.
Well, I don't know about you, but I think that's about all I had to say.
Yeah, and we just hit an hour, so it's perfect timing.
Nice. Well, I will upload this to YouTube after this, so folks can find our next recap in a couple days, both on Mikester's Facebook page live streaming and on my YouTube page, The Green Market Agorist, immediately after that. And, you know, we will, yeah, we'll be back in a couple days. Check out greenmarketagorist.wordpress.com. And, yeah, if you're a delegate, I guess vote Mikester, right?
Right. All right. And good night, everybody. I really enjoyed this. Thanks for being here for the first StreamYard we've ever done. And we're going to be doing some more.
Yay. Bye, y'all.
How do I? There we go.
Yay.